Hello friends, welcome to another video of mine. If you are new here, my name is Rachelle. I'm so glad you guys are here today. It is still currently January, and this time of the year, it is still the time to make New Year's goals. Some of you may already have these goals, and since you clicked on this video, one of those goals might actually be to get into reading, or you might have clicked on this video because you haven't made any New Year's goals yet, but you had this idea at the back of your mind to read more this year, but you just don't know where to start. Whether you're here for one of those reasons or neither, in this video I will be sharing with you some tips on how to get into reading. Before we get into these tips though, let me share with you a little story about myself. Growing up, I loved reading. It was something I did during my free time non-stop, but then I hit high school and that's when my life got super busy and I just didn't have time to read anymore. This book slump actually lasted a really long time. I didn't pick up a book I want to read just for fun until my third year of university, and that was in 2021. When I picked up this first book to start reading again, I enjoyed it so much that I made it a goal to try to read more. Although I loved to read a lot as a kid, I remember I had to learn how to get back into reading again because of course I was so much older and I had so many more responsibilities. I had school, work, and extracurricular activities, and finding the free time and the motivation to read could sometimes be a struggle because of course life just wasn't as simple anymore. Since 2021 though, on average I read about 40 books per year while managing a busy life. And through my experience, I have gathered some tips on how to get into reading and stay motivated to read more. And of course, I will be sharing with you all those tips in this video, so let's just get into it. Tip number 1 is to get the right book recommendations. This is actually something that's easier said than done. It can honestly be quite daunting to find a book to read, so I recommend you think of some of your interest in storytelling. When I say storytelling, I don't mean books. Sure, if you already know what you like in books, that's great, but for those of you who are new to reading and you don't know what you like in books yet, think about what you like in movies and TV shows, because these are also two forms of storytelling. Ask yourself these questions. What genre do you like to watch? Or what topics or issues you care about? Or even what kind of stories helps you unwind? Once you figure out what you like in storytelling, ask someone you know that reads a lot to recommend you some books that fit into the genre or the topics you enjoy. Or if you know absolutely no one who reads, you can go and Google book recommendations for yourself. For example, if you like fantasies with magic, Google exactly that, fantasy books with magic in it. Or if you like enemies to lovers romances, search up enemies to lovers books. From there, look up the book description of each of these books and see which stories interest you. I find that having the right book recommendations goes a long way in helping you to read more, because if you're interested in what you're reading, you'll have the motivation to continue reading until you figure out the ending of the story. Tip number 2 is don't be afraid to read YA books. YA stands for young adult, and most people know it as books for younger audiences, usually under the age of 18. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who don't even consider reading YA books if they're over the age of 18. But in my opinion, no matter what age you are, you shouldn't exclude YA books when you are deciding what to read, because a lot of YA books are actually really good reads. I'm currently 23 and I still read YA books, and I'm not gonna lie, some of my favorite books out there are actually classified as YA. The way I see it, when a book is classified as YA, it doesn't mean there's an age restriction and once you're past this age, you can no longer read this book. A lot of the times YA and adult books have similar themes, but in a YA book, the themes explored are just less explicit. I'm in my 20s and sometimes I just need a light, fluffy read, and that's when I pick up a YA novel. Tip number 3 is to look for page turners. If you are having a hard time paying attention to a book, maybe try looking for a book that is action-packed, and you can probably find this out by looking up spoiler-free reviews. And I would also say to check if the book has short chapters. With a lot of books, I usually count the number of pages in a chapter just so I know what I'm getting into, but make sure you don't read any of the words and spoil the story for yourself. Definitely be careful when you're counting the pages of a chapter. I find that these two elements are usually found in a mystery thriller novel, but anyway, these two elements combined will make the story fly by so fast because you'll usually find yourself on the edge of your seat desperate for answers. Tip number 4 is learn the power of DNFing a book. If you guys don't know what DNF means, it means did not finish. So if you start a book and you make it a few chapters in, but then you realize that you don't like what you're reading, just set it down and choose another book you're interested in reading and read that instead. I find that a lot of the times if you are reading a book that you don't like and you may be forcing yourself to finish it, it will easily put you in a reading slump, and then of course you probably might feel discouraged to read another book or just read more in general. Just because you didn't like reading that one book, it doesn't mean you don't like reading, it just means that story wasn't the right fit for you. Tip number 5 is to actively reach for a book instead of your phone or laptop during downtime. Something that helped me get into reading and reading more in general was actually wanting to reduce my screen time. I found that I spent so much time looking at my screen during school and while I was also working. And lately, I think a lot of people are actually noticing this about themselves as well. At the end of the day, everybody needs to wind down. And I know a lot of people gravitate to watching a movie or a TV show, but maybe next time instead of watching something, try picking up a book. You are essentially still getting the storytelling element, but it is portrayed in a different medium, and in this case, it's paper. Even if you're only reading a couple chapters a day, it's still a start towards reading more. I also find that before bed, for myself, I don't want to strain my eyes more by looking at a screen, so that's when picking up a book before bed helps relax my eyes a little bit more. Tip number 6 is to find a friend that reads, or ask a friend or partner to start reading with you. I find that when you read with someone, it is so fun and it motivates you to read more because there's always the opportunity to talk about your thoughts of the book with that person while you're reading it and after you finish it. Choosing a book and reading it together with a friend or partner is so enjoyable, and that is called buddy reading. But it's also fun to just get together and just read. Even though you guys aren't reading the same book, at the end of the day, it's still an activity and you are spending quality time with this person. And of course, you are that much closer to achieving your goal to read more. Also, if you're reading alone but you know a friend of yours has already read the book you're currently reading, don't feel bad about sending your friend a text about your thoughts so far in the book or an update on where you're at in the story. And speaking from personal experience, it is so exciting to get a text from a friend wanting to talk about a book, even if I read that book ages ago. Tip number 7 is to listen to audiobooks. If you struggle with the sitting and focusing required to read a physical book, or you might not have the time to read a physical book, consider listening to audiobooks. Audiobooks are a great way to make everyday tasks like chores or a daily commute more enjoyable. Tip number 8 is to try ebooks. If you're constantly on your phone or tablet and the thought of lugging a physical book doesn't seem like you, try an ebook. Ebooks are widely available on a variety of different apps, and it can literally be read on just about any device out there. And also, ebooks are actually so much cheaper than physical books. So if at any point in time you find yourself mindlessly scrolling through social media, you can easily use that time to switch over to an entertaining ebook on the same device. Fun fact, in 2021, I used to mostly read ebooks because back then I wasn't ready to commit to buying physical books yet. And of course, that was before I realized that I prefer physical books over ebooks. Tip number 9 is to take advantage of the little moments in your day to read. If you are someone who doesn't think you have time to read, there may be little moments in your day where you don't realize that having a book can come in handy. A daily commute on the train or bus, or waiting for your turn at a doctor's appointment, or even waiting for your kids to finish at some kind of practice. These are all really great opportunities to sneak in some reading. Whenever I have a busy day, I always try to incorporate a little bit of reading into my day by reading a couple of chapters after work or before bed. Alright guys, those are all the tips I have for you guys in this video. I hope you guys found this video helpful in helping you get into reading or helping you to read more. If you guys tried or are going to try any of these tips, let me know in the comments down below. I would absolutely love to hear about your reading journeys. Before I go though, if you guys haven't already done so, definitely subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. I post a lot of book related videos, so if you're into that, stay tuned. And I guess with that, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!
Pull the key out the ignition. Run your mouth but I never listen. You hold me back, will never last. Keep talking all your shit. Wondering how all this started. You left me broken hearted. You flip my words, yeah, this love hurts. Keep talking all your shit.